"I'm done, Nathan," Emily's text sneered. 5 words paired with a screenshot of our drained joint account. "You're on your own now." The betrayal cut deep. "My name is Nathan Brooks, 37 years old, head mechanic at Carter's Auto Repair in Reno, Nevada. 3 hours earlier, I'd been sitting in a doctor's office, hearing words like lymphoma and treatment options and survival rates. "It's a fight, Nathan," the doctor had warned, his voice heavy with urgency. "Stage 2, treatable but a long road ahead." I called Emily from the parking lot, told her to meet me at home so we could talk. She said she was busy, had errands, would be back later. "Don't pressure me, Nathan," she'd snapped, her tone sharp with dismissal. When I got home, half the closet was empty, her suitcase gone, wedding photo removed from the nightstand. Then the text came, along with the screenshot showing she'd transferred our entire savings, $52,000, 0 cents, we'd put away over 7 years, to an account with only her name on it. I stared at the message for a full minute, typed back 2 words, "Take care." Then I put my phone down, opened a beer, and sat on our back deck watching the sunset. The fading light mirrored the collapse of my world. Didn't cry, I didn't throw anything, just sat there, feeling the weight of everything shift. The cancer I could face, the betrayal was something else entirely. Paul from next door saw me sitting there and walked over to the fence. "Everything all right? Saw Emily peel out of here earlier with her car packed up." "She's gone, hasn't she?" Paul asked, his voice low with concern. "Got some health news," I said. "She didn't take it well." Paul nodded, not pushing for more. "Let me know if you need anything. Diane makes a mean casserole." "Appreciate it," I said. After he left, I went inside and pulled out the folder my Uncle Stephen had given me last month. He'd retired from estate planning last year, but still kept his hand in. When my grandfather passed in April and left me that small piece of land in the hills, Stephen had helped me get the paperwork straight. "Everyone needs their affairs in order," he'd said. "You never know what's coming," he'd added, his words now prophetic, "especially when you're married. Protect each other." I'd started the process, updated my will. "She won't break me," I vowed, clutching the folder, my resolve hardening. Listed Emily as co-owner on the '65 Corvette I'd restored, though I hadn't filed the final paperwork with the DMV yet. Set up a secondary account at a different bank for the land sale proceeds when that went through. All to protect us. To protect her. I trusted her completely, I thought. The irony now a bitter sting. Funny how things work out. I picked up my phone and called Stephen. When he answered, I said, "Remember that conversation we had about estate planning? I need to make some changes." There was a pause. "What's happened, Nathan?" Stephen asked, his voice thick with concern. "Everything okay, Nathan?" "No," I said, "but it will be." I met Emily at my buddy Chris's wedding in 2018. She was a paralegal at a law firm downtown. Smart, quick-witted, beautiful. "You're my forever," she'd whispered that night, her words now a cruel echo. We moved in together 6 months later, married the year after that. The first few years were good. We saved for a house, found a fixer-upper in a decent neighborhood. I spent weekends replacing cabinets, refinishing floors, installing new plumbing. Emily chose paint colors and furniture, posted before and after photos online. "We're unstoppable," she'd captioned one post, a lie I'd believed, called us a renovation success story. My dad died when I was 11. Mom raised me and my sister on a teacher's salary, taught us to work hard, live within our means, and always have a backup plan. "Never let anyone take your future," Mom had warned. Her lesson, now my lifeline. After Mom passed 4 years ago, that backup plan became even more important to me. Emily came from different stock. Her parents gave her everything: college tuition, new car every few years, down payment for our house. They never understood why she married a mechanic. Her dad, a corporate attorney, always introduced me as Emily's husband rather than using my name. "He's beneath you," her dad once told her, his disdain cutting deep. Looking back, I see the cracks started forming well before my diagnosis. 5 months ago, Emily started talking about moving to Austin, said there were better opportunities there. "Reno's holding me back," she'd complained, her eyes cold with ambition. I resisted. My job was solid. We had friends here. The house was almost paid off. She got quiet after those conversations. Distant. Spent more time with friends I'd never met. Then came the small comments that stung more than they should have. Don't you want to do something more with your life than fix cars? You're stuck in this small town. Emily sneered, her words cutting deep. My college roommate's husband just made partner at his firm. They're building a vacation home. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd moved to San Francisco after graduation instead of staying here. I could have been someone, she'd added, her tone dripping with regret. I ignored the signs, told myself every marriage has rough patches, that we'd work through it. When I found the business card for an apartment complex in Austin tucked in her purse, I still didn't confront her. What's this, Emily? I'd almost asked, but her cold stare stopped me. I quietly called my Uncle Stephen to discuss updating our legal paperwork, started documenting our assets, just in case. 4 weeks later, I went to the doctor for what I thought was a persistent cold, found the swollen lymph nodes instead. Then, the blood tests, the biopsy. The night before my final diagnosis, Emily and I had dinner at our kitchen table. She talked about a co-worker's promotion. They're living the life I deserve, she mused, oblivious to my dread. I watched her face, wondering if she'd noticed the fear in mine. Everything okay? She finally asked. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. She nodded and kept eating, didn't push further, didn't really look at me. Her indifference was a blade, slicing through my hope. That should have told me everything I needed to know. 5 days after Emily left, I started chemotherapy. First session hit me harder than I expected. The nurse showed me to a recliner, hooked up the IV, and asked if my ride was in the waiting room. Took an Uber, I said. My wife's out of town. You're alone? She asked softly, her pity stinging more than the needle. She gave me a look I couldn't quite read, then patted my arm. First one's the hardest. You'll get through this. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. Hadn't told anyone except Paul next door that Emily was gone for good, not just out of town. She abandoned you, Paul had said, his voice heavy with disbelief. Somehow saying it aloud would make it more real, more shameful. When I got home, there was a casserole on my front porch with a note from Paul's wife. Made too much, enjoy. We're here for you, the note added, a kindness that pierced my isolation. I knew it was a lie, but I appreciated it anyway. I tried to eat, but couldn't keep anything down. Ended up on the bathroom floor, sweating and shaking, alone. The silence of the house screamed Emily's betrayal louder than words. That night, I called my sister Rachel in Denver, told her everything. The cancer, Emily, the money. She wanted to drive up immediately. She left you like this? Rachel gasped, her voice breaking with fury. I asked her to wait. We needed to sort some things out first. The next morning, I called my bank. Discovered Emily had emptied our accounts 25 minutes after I called her from the doctor's office. She didn't even hesitate. The banker said, his tone heavy with disbelief. Before she even knew the details, just knew I was sick, and that was enough for her to run. Something shifted inside me. The sadness hardened into something else. Not anger exactly. Purpose. I drove to my Uncle Stephen's house that afternoon. Brought all our financial documents, property records, everything. She can't just take your money like that, he said, reviewing the statements. It's theft, Nathan, Stephen growled, his eyes narrowing with resolve. Joint account, I reminded him. Her name's on it too. Stephen took off his reading glasses. Nathan, what she did wasn't just cold. It might have been illegal. Taking all the money when she knows you're sick, knows you'll have medical bills. She's heartless, he added, his voice thick with disgust. Can I prove that? That she knew? He thought for a moment. Phone records would show you called her right after your appointment. The bank statement shows when she made the transfer. If you documented your diagnosis date. I pulled out my phone, showed him the text she'd sent. I didn't sign up for this. Stephen's expression hardened. This is your weapon, he said, pointing at the screen with grim certainty. That's pretty damning. We spent the next 3 hours mapping out a strategy. The Corvette title change, the land sale, my medical insurance and treatment costs, documenting everything. We'll make her pay for this, Stephen vowed, his determination fueling mine. When I left Stephen's house, my phone buzzed. Email from Emily's cousin Lauren, who'd always been friendly to me. Nathan, I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. I don't know what Emily is thinking. Just wanted you to know I'm here if you need anything. I stared at the message for a long time, then replied, Does Emily know about my diagnosis? Lauren's response came quickly. Yes. She told everyone you have cancer but said she couldn't handle it and needed a fresh start. My whole family is shocked. This isn't right. She's a coward, Lauren added, her words echoing my pain. I thanked her and put my phone away. Drove home with the windows down, feeling the summer air on my face. The breeze carried a resolve to fight back against Emily's betrayal. For the first time since the diagnosis, I felt clarity. I knew exactly what I needed to do. 4 weeks into treatment, I got a letter from Emily's lawyer. She wanted a divorce, cited irreconcilable differences, requested to be removed from the mortgage but wanted half the equity in the house. He said nothing about the money she'd already taken, nothing about my illness. I took the letter to Stephen. Pretty bold, he said, scanning the document. She's shameless, he added, his voice thick with disgust. Takes all your savings knowing you're sick, then wants half the house too. What should I do? Don't respond yet, Stephen advised. Let her dig her own grave, he said, his eyes glinting with strategy, and see how far she wants to push this. The next day, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Nathan, it's Emily. This is my new number. I know you're upset, but we need to figure this out. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half the house. You owe me, Nathan, she added, her words dripping with entitlement. I didn't respond. 5 days later, another text. Nathan, being childish won't help. I know you're going through stuff, but I have rights too. Stop playing victim, she taunted, her audacity fueling my resolve. Going through stuff? Like cancer was a bad mood I needed to get over. I blocked the number. My 5th chemo session hit me hard. Couldn't keep food down for 2 days. Lost 18 pounds. Rachel finally came up from Denver, stayed for a week, cleaned the house, stocked the freezer with meals, drove me to appointments. She's a monster, Rachel fumed, her hands trembling with rage. The day before she left, we got another letter from Emily's lawyer. More demands, more threats about what I owed her. Rachel was furious. After what she did, she's lucky you haven't taken her to court for the money she stole. We'll crush her, Rachel vowed, her voice fierce with loyalty. We'll get there, I said. The following week, I received a certified letter from the bank. Emily had tried to remove my name from our joint credit cards, but couldn't without my signature. She's desperate now, the bank teller whispered, shaking her head. She'd also attempted to access our safe deposit box, the one containing the deed to the house, the Corvette title, and my grandfather's will. The bank had denied her access when she couldn't produce the second key. My key. She'll never outsmart you, I thought, clutching that key like a lifeline. I called Stephen immediately. Emily's panicking, I said, my voice taut with urgency. She's getting desperate, he said. Probably realized she left loose ends. She's scrambling now, Stephen added, his tone sharp with determination. What's my next move? Let's close that safe deposit box, move everything to a new one in your name only. And I think it's time to file those title changes for the Corvette. I took a sick day, though every day was a sick day now. Went to the bank, closed the box, opened a new one. She'll never touch these, I muttered, securing the new key. Went to the DMV, removed Emily's name from the title that had never been finalized. That night, another text from a new number. You changed the Corvette title? That car is half mine. You put my name on it. You're stealing from me. Emily's message raged, her desperation palpable. I stared at the message. How did she know already? I'd only filed the paperwork that morning. Then it clicked. She must have someone at the DMV feeding her information. Or the bank, someone watching my moves. I called Stephen. I think she has help, someone telling her what I'm doing. Her father's pulling strings, I warned, my suspicion growing darker. Stephen was quiet for a moment. Her father has connections, wouldn't put it past him. He's protecting her lies, Stephen said, his voice cold with resolve. What do I do? Feed them wrong information, Stephen said. Let's set a trap. We'll outsmart them, he vowed, his plan igniting my fight. The next day, I called the realtor who'd been handling my grandfather's land sale, asked her to pause the process, Made sure to mention on the call that I was exploring other options for liquidating assets. Then I called my investment bank, where I had a small 401k from a previous job, asked about early withdrawal procedures. Make it sound urgent, I told the banker, baiting Emily's spies, made it clear I was considering all options due to medical bills. I waited to see what Emily would do next. 4 days later, her lawyer sent a new letter demanding a portion of any proceeds from the sale of inherited property and a fair division of all retirement accounts. Stephen smiled when I showed him the letter. She took the bait. She's walking into our trap, he said, his grin fierce with anticipation. Now what? I asked. Now we show our cards, he said. I spent the next month focusing on my health. The treatments were brutal, but the doctors seemed cautiously optimistic. You're stronger than her, Rachel said, her visits a lifeline. My hair was gone, I'd lost 40 pounds, but my numbers were improving. Rachel came up every other weekend. Paul and Diane from next door checked on me daily. You're not alone, Diane said, her kindness a shield against Emily's cruelty. My boss cut my hours but kept my health insurance active. Your family, Nathan, he said, his voice firm with loyalty. I was surviving, both the cancer and Emily's departure. Some days were harder than others. Some nights I woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there. The empty bed was a cruel reminder of her betrayal. But mostly, I stayed focused on the next step, the next treatment, the next move in the chess game Emily had started. Stephen called on a Thursday morning. We got the documents from her bank. Want to guess what she did with your money? She's playing dirty, he warned, his tone laced with urgency. Tell me. Transferred it to a new account, then immediately wrote a check for $40,000, 0 cents to her parents. I sat down. Why would she do that? My guess? Trying to hide it, make it harder to trace or recover. She's a thief, I muttered, the realization fueling my resolve. Can she do that? No, Stephen said. That's the beauty of it. She transferred joint funds during a known medical crisis, then tried to hide the money through a third party. The judge is going to hate that. I thought about it. I don't want a long court battle, Stephen. I don't have the energy for that right now. Trust me, it won't get that far. Once her lawyer sees what we have, they'll settle. A crusher, Stephen vowed, his confidence igniting mine. 4 days later, I was leaving my treatment when I spotted a familiar car in the hospital parking lot. Silver BMW. Emily's father. He was sitting behind the wheel, watching the hospital entrance. Watching for me. I walked straight to his car, knocked on the window. He rolled it down, face composed in that lawyer mask I knew well. Nathan, you look unwell. You're stalking me now, I snapped, my voice sharp with defiance. Cancer will do that. Why are you here? Emily is concerned. Says you're being unreasonable about the divorce proceedings. Concerned? I scoffed, my anger flaring at his lie. I almost laughed. Is that what she calls it? Unreasonable? She's prepared to be generous, given your situation. A fair division of assets, including the house. After she took every cent we had, after she left the day I was diagnosed, she abandoned me, I spat, my words cutting through his facade. He had the decency to look uncomfortable. She was upset, emotional. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. She chose to destroy me, I said, my voice low with restrained fury. He sighed. Nathan, be practical. You're sick. You need to focus on getting better, not fighting a legal battle you can't afford. You underestimate me, I retorted, my resolve unyielding. That's when it hit me. They thought I was desperate, thought I was broke after Emily cleaned out our accounts. They think I'm weak, I seethed, my resolve hardening like steel. Thought I'd take any settlement just to avoid a fight. They had no idea about the land sale. No idea I'd removed her name from the Corvette title before she could claim it. No idea I'd documented everything. Tell Emily I'll have my response to her lawyer by Friday, I said, turning to leave. You're making a mistake, I shot back, my voice icy with defiance. Nathan, he called after me, don't make this harder than it needs to be. You've already lost, I muttered under my breath, refusing to turn back. I didn't look back. On Thursday, I met with Stephen and the real estate lawyer he'd brought in, Laura Bennett. We reviewed everything. The bank records showing Emily's withdrawal immediately after my diagnosis, her text message, the witness statement from Lauren confirming Emily knew about my cancer, the check to her parents. This is clear-cut financial abandonment, Laura said. She's dug her own grave, Laura added, her tone fierce with certainty. Plus, the attempt to conceal marital assets. No judge will look kindly on this. So what's our move? I asked. We file our own divorce action, she said. We demonstrate abandonment during medical crisis, financial malfeasance, and attempted concealment of funds. We request full recovery of the missing funds plus legal fees. We'll bury her, Laura vowed, her eyes blazing with determination. Will that work? I asked. Laura smiled. I've never seen a cleaner case, but I don't think it will get that far. Once they see what we have, they'll fold. And if they don't? She'll regret crossing you, Laura said, her voice sharp with promise. Then we go to court, and she loses everything, including her reputation. For the first time in months, I felt something like hope. I'm taking back my life, I thought, the spark of victory igniting within. On Friday morning, Laura sent our response to Emily's lawyer, a complete divorce filing with all the evidence attached, bank records, text messages, witness statements, medical documentation, everything laid out in cold, clear detail. By noon, Emily's lawyer requested an emergency meeting. That was fast, I told Stephen over the phone. They're panicking now, I said, a grim satisfaction in my voice. They weren't expecting you to have ammunition, he said. They underestimated a fighter, Stephen replied, his tone thick with pride. They thought you were too sick, too broke, or too beaten down to fight back. The meeting was set for Monday. I spent the weekend resting, preparing mentally. This is my stand, I vowed, ready to face Emily's deceit head-on. On Sunday night, I got a text from yet another new number. This is cruel, Nathan. I made a mistake. But this is vindictive. My parents can't give the money back right now. You're trying to destroy me. You're heartless. Emily's message seethed, her desperation fueling my resolve. I stared at the screen. Vindictive? I wasn't the one who abandoned a sick spouse and stole their life savings. I wasn't the one hiding behind lawyers and parents. For the first time, I texted back. Actions have consequences. You'll face yours, I added, my words sharp with defiance. Monday morning, I met Stephen and Laura at her office. They wanted me there, but advised me to say nothing unless directly asked a question. Let her squirm, Laura whispered, her eyes gleaming with strategy. Emily arrived with her father and her lawyer, a thin man with expensive glasses and a permanent frown. Feeling good? Tanned, rested, like the past few months had been a vacation while I'd been fighting for my life. Her carefree glow was a slap in the face, mocking my pain. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her lawyer spoke first. We've reviewed your filing. While we disagree with your characterization of events, my client is willing to negotiate a settlement to avoid unnecessary conflict. Laura smiled. Negotiate? She scoffed, her voice dripping with disdain. Let me be clear. This isn't a negotiation. It's a courtesy meeting before we proceed to court. Your client abandoned her husband upon his cancer diagnosis, emptied their joint accounts, attempted to hide those funds through her parents, and then demanded additional assets. We have documented everything. Emily shifted in her seat. Her father leaned forward. This is outrageous, he barked, his face reddening with indignation. Surely we can reach a reasonable... Your daughter transferred her husband's medical emergency fund to you, Laura cut in. You're complicit, she accused, her tone slicing through his bluster. We have the check records. Will you be returning those funds today, or shall we add you to the lawsuit for accepting fraudulently obtained marital assets? The room went silent. Emily's lawyer cleared his throat. You're overreaching, he stammered, his confidence crumbling under Laura's glare. What exactly are you demanding? Laura laid out our terms. Full return of the $52,000, 0 cents. Emily to relinquish all claims to the house, the Corvette, my grandfather's land, and my retirement accounts. She would assume responsibility for all legal fees. In exchange, I would not pursue criminal charges for financial fraud and abandonment. This is robbery, Emily's father muttered. You dare call this robbery? I snapped, my voice low but venomous. No, Laura replied calmly. Robbery is what your daughter did. This is justice. The meeting ended with Emily's lawyer asking for 48 hours to consider our terms. They're cornered now, Stephen said, his voice thick with triumph. As we left the conference room, Emily tried to catch my eye. Her pleading gaze was a hollow gesture, too late to matter. I walked past her without slowing down. In the elevator, Stephen squeezed my shoulder. You did good in there. You stood tall, Nathan, he added, his voice warm with pride. I didn't do anything, I said. Just sat there. Sometimes that's the hardest part, he replied. 2 days later, Laura called. Emily had accepted all our terms. Her parents would return the full $52,000 0 cents within 30 days. She would sign the papers relinquishing all claims to our property. It's over, Laura said. You crushed her, she declared, her tone fierce with triumph. You won. But it didn't feel like winning. It felt like the end of something I once thought would last forever, like closing a book halfway through the story. Still, for the first time since my diagnosis, I slept through the night. The settlement money arrived exactly 30 days later, a cashier's check for the full $52,000, 0 cents. I deposited it immediately, then called my oncologist's office to pay down my medical bills. The nurse who'd been with me from the first treatment, Sarah, was at the front desk when I arrived. You're looking better, she said. You're a fighter, she added, her smile a beacon of hope. Numbers came back good last week. Feel better too, I said, handing over the check. She glanced at the amount. Insurance came through? Justice did, I replied, a quiet victory in my voice. Something like that. The divorce was finalized a week later. I signed the papers at Laura's office, feeling strangely empty. Not sad, not angry. Just done. What now? Stephen asked as we left the building. You're free now, he said, his eyes bright with encouragement. Finish treatment, get better, figure out what's next. He nodded. The land sale should close next month. That's another $85,000, 0 cents. And if you decide to sell the Corvette, not yet, I said. I'm not ready to let go of everything. That evening, I sat on my back deck with a glass of water, watching the sunset. The colors painted a new chapter, one without her shadow. The nausea from chemo had finally subsided. My hair was starting to grow back, patchy, but there. The doctors were using words like responding well and promising outlook. My phone buzzed. Email from Lauren, Emily's cousin. Nathan, I heard everything's finalized. I'm so sorry for what my family did to you. Emily's parents are selling their Lake Powell cabin to cover the money they owe you. My aunt is furious, blaming you instead of Emily. But I wanted you to know some of us understand what really happened. I hope you're doing better. You deserve that much. She's still lying, I thought. Lauren's words exposing Emily's deceit. I put my phone away without replying. Didn't need to engage with Emily's family drama anymore. It was time to focus on healing, on rebuilding, on whatever came next. 8 months later, my oncologist said the words I'd been waiting for, complete remission. I sat in her office, letting the news sink in. You defied the odds, she said, her voice filled with awe. Not cured. Lymphoma could always come back, but for now the cancer was gone. The battle won. What happens now? I asked. Regular checkups, blood work, scans every 6 months. But for now, Nathan, you go live your life. That evening, I made 2 calls. First to Rachel, who screamed with joy. You're unstoppable, she cheered, her voice a lifeline through my darkest days. Then to my buddy Kyle in Kalispell, who'd been offering me a job at his custom auto shop for years. Still got space for me, I asked. Hell yes, he said. You're a legend, man, Kyle added, his enthusiasm infectious. When can you start? A month later, I sold the house in Reno, used the money to buy a small cabin outside Kalispell, 2 bedrooms, a garage big enough for my tools and the Corvette, and mountains visible from every window. The day I drove out of Reno, Paul and Diane from next door came to say goodbye. Diane handed me a casserole for the road. You're stronger than ever, Diane said, her eyes misty with admiration. I thanked them for everything. The meals, the lawn mowing, the quiet support when I needed it most. You doing okay? Paul asked. Really okay? You've been our rock, he added, his voice heavy with gratitude. I thought about it. Getting there. 5 months into my new life in Montana, I got a text from an unknown number. Emily again. I heard you're in remission. I'm glad. I know you won't believe this, but I think about you often. I made a terrible mistake. I was scared and selfish. I'm sorry, Nathan, for everything. Too late for regrets, I muttered, her apology hollow against my scars. I read it twice, considering whether to respond. In the end, I typed back just 4 words. I survived. Be well. Then I blocked the number, put my phone away, and went to work on the Corvette. Not to sell it anymore, to keep it. To restore it again, this time just for me. This is my legacy, I thought, my hand steady on the wrench. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed, but others can be rebuilt, stronger than before. I was one of them. I'm more than enough, I vowed, ready for whatever lay ahead.